You're listening to Hungry for More, an Epicurean's Dilemma, and I'm your host, Trish Close. Luisa Ponzi on the podcast today. It has taken me a little bit of time to get this human on my podcast, not because of Luisa, I think because of me. I think I was a little intimidated to ask her, but I did. She graciously said yes, and here we are. Luisa calls herself a wine grower. She says she's struggling a little bit on her role right now. What am I? What am I doing? So wine grower it is. If her name sounds familiar, it should. I've not only interviewed her sister, Maria Ponzi, on this podcast, but the Ponzi family moved up to the Willamette Valley years ago just to grow vines and make wine, although they had no idea what they were doing. But I think things turned out okay. Luisa has very fond memories of being in the vines, playing in the dirt, working with Dad. She did not set out to be a winemaker, though. That was not on her radar. She says she finally, her words, finally graduates with a science degree, and Dad invites her to help out with the harvest. 100% intentional. Luisa said everything just kind of clicked. Kind of made sense at that point. Off to Burgundy she goes to learn more about winemaking, and she has some wild stories about being in France, being a female, and just trying to learn how to make wine. She comes home and says her perspective has completely changed, as it should, right? Dad says, take the reins, you do your thing. Lets her screw up a little bit, helps out where he can, but really, this is Luisa's show at this point. We talk a lot about how the industry has changed and how really perspectives have changed, right? The things that were okay and important maybe in your 20s are not okay or important right now. And that working in the winery was a big deal. And that has kind of shifted for Luisa. The vineyard is now where she's putting a lot of her heart and soul. Upcoming projects, we talk about that. Her label, Luisa Wines, this really cool collaboration with her daughter. She's getting to work with her daughter, and just all the things that have changed since she started on this journey. And this is what I love about this interview specifically. I got to learn so much about Luisa and her philosophy in winemaking and the journey to where she is now, mixed with all these little bits of history. It may be my favorite combo. Here's Luisa Ponzi. No, Luisa, you're stunning. Your background is stunning. That looks like it looks like you look like a YouTube video right now.
Oh, cool. Okay. It's pouring down rain here, so we're all into the fires these days.
'Tis Willamette, right?
I love it so much.
I mean, I tell people I'm from Southern Oregon and they're like, oh, does it rain a lot? And I'm like, no, we get sunshine most of the year. It's those folks up north that see a lot of rain.
Yeah, we were just in Gold Beach last weekend and it was like balmy.
Love Gold Beach. Love Gold Beach. Luisa Ponzi, thank you so much for being on the podcast. You've been on my list, my good list, for like a year. I've been just dying to chat with you about all the things. So thank you for being here.
Okay. Yes. Thanks for having me.
You're like,
fun.
You're like, okay, great. I'm scared. We were just chatting about this before I hit record. Luisa Wines, wine grower, winemaker. You're like, I don't know. I don't know what to call myself.
I don't know what I am anymore. It's so weird. That's the kind of the whole story of my current existence is who am I? Yeah, I never know. When they say, what's your title? I'm like, oh, I was winemaker forever. I don't know. I am still a winemaker, but what am I? I don't know. Running businesses, all kinds of things.
Well, you said you're spending more time in the vineyard now than in the cellar.
I spend more time in the vineyard than I do in the cellar. And I've always spent time in the vineyard, but I never really promoted that. That wasn't like, it was just part of my job as a winemaker. But now I am doing more vineyard and it's, yeah. So yeah, I'm not sure what I am.
If you could make a list, you're a winemaker, you're a grower of grapes, you're a business owner, you're a mama.
I'm four children, so a lot.
Which is a job. That is a job.
It's a job. Yeah, it's gotten easier. They're all gone. As of just now, like as of the last 2 months or whatever. So that's one thing. Yeah. Kind of a herder of people. Yeah.
Oh.
I'm like behind. I've always been like the the behind person that you can like,
Yeah.
she'll do the dirty part.
Which we all need. We all need someone behind us to like light a fire under our booties and be like, go.
Ye- Yes, yes, but never in the front. I don't like to be like I hate this. I hate this thing. I hate it. But I'll do it for you. I hate this though, but I don't like this part of it. Never liked it.
Well, thank
I'd rather
you.
be, out in the field.
I
So
hear you. Thank you. Thank you for doing this for me for the sacrifice. I just mentioned to you, I love this. Something's wrong with me.
no, it's very impressive.
You're also legacy winemaker for Ponzi Vineyards. What does that mean,
Yeah.
legacy winemaker? Explain that to me.
Well, okay. So we sold Ponzi Vineyards
Hmm.
by not quite 5 years ago, 2021. So I stayed on as the winemaker and everything I was doing for 4 years. Then I became a consultant, and that was like I'm the consulting winemaker. And then as of January this year, I'm done. And they said, well, we still want to keep your face there. Are you, what do they call it? Emeritus?
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that sounds really old. I don't want to be emeritus. So, so we settled on legacy.
Okay.
And my father can be the emeritus. That's what I decided. He was the original winemaker. I was the legacy winemaker. So anyhow, they settled on that name, which is fine, and it's fine, whatever. So I don't do anything there for winemaking anymore. I do grow their grapes and I manage their vineyards.
Nice.
So
Where are you
yeah.
from originally?
Originally,
Mm-hmm.
did you just say
Originally, OG, where? Because
me
you're not
personally?
from Oregon, are you?
I mean, I had my first birthday in Oregon,
Okay,
but yeah, we are from Los Gatos in California.
right. Because
That's where we
I
all
have interviewed your sister, so I know a little bit of background, but I want Luisa's perspective here. You were just a wee little babe when family
yeah,
decided to move to Oregon.
yeah. I'm the youngest of three, and they moved in. Well, okay, so we moved up here in '68.
Hmm.
There you go. That's how old I am. Figure it
And
out.
thanks, Trish. Thanks a lot. But family moved up here specifically to start a vineyard.
Yeah, they moved up here. My parents, so okay. We had a pretty comfortable little life in Los Gatos, evidently. My father was working at Disneyland,
Hmm.
which is very cool.
So
And he was,
cool.
yeah, great little job. My mom was like working at the Montessori school and had her little, three children. And then they just had a wild hair that they wanted to, it was the 60s. They wanted to like get back to the land, do something with our children, feel like we're really using our hands to do something. And my father's first generation Italian, right? So he thought he knew how to make wine because he's Italian and he's male. No, they
Yeah,
always made wine when he was a kid, and he just loved it. And they loved Pinot Noir. Somehow along the way, they had fallen in love with Pinot Noir, and but knew really nothing about farming or they'd taken a few trips to Europe and they'd visited Burgundy and Alsace, and um, it was a huge adventure. It was really just a huge departure, and this kind of they really just wanted to do something else, get out of the corporate life. And that
sure.
was their, and
Well, it's a story within winemaking. It's a story you hear frequently. I was sick of this corporate job and I wanted to get back to the land, or
yeah,
we wanted to move the kids up somewhere where they could run around, naked if
it's
they
a
wanted
story
to.
that it's still happening. I mean,
Hmm.
it's still happening. The people that are coming here still have that sense of like, we can do this and we want to create something. Yeah. I don't think it's changed that much.
Yeah, quick left turn. Are you seeing that the people who are wanting to come up here are getting younger? Here, meaning
I mean,
wanting to connect with the land in that way.
yeah, I think so. And also in some cases more educated probably about wine and winemaking. Um, my parents were in their 20s and early 30s. And uh, yeah, I don't know if I see people that are younger, maybe. maybe a little more confidence and more desire to be in control of their own destiny kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know if it's necessarily a trend. I do see more couples in like 20s wanting to do something in a
yeah,
rural area with their hands
yeah,
or produce something
yeah,
versus go out and try and climb that corporate ladder.
absolutely. I mean, this generation definitely is much more like, I don't want a 9 to 5 job.
Right. Right.
I want a job that keeps me active and, is creating something or giving back or doing something good. Yeah, totally.
So growing up in Willamette Valley, your parents, you guys move here, and again, dad, mom don't really know a lot what they're doing when it
They
comes
don't know
to,
any, so naive. Yeah.
which I love. I love that because you
Yeah.
look at where they started and where they ended up, and I just, oh, it's so great.
Oh,
Some of your
yeah.
fondest memories from growing up.
Oh, okay. So I was the youngest of three, and my older brother, is a musician. He's an incredible piano player and kind of like in his head. So he was always, and he was the only male, right? Son. And so there was this definite kind of coddling going on with him. So it's, I don't know if you're familiar with that, but a little bit of the like, oh, you just go play the piano
Right.
and we'll work. So there was that. Maria, my sister, well, you've met Maria.
Yeah.
She's much more like you. She's out there. She wanted to be like, the cheerleader,
Yeah.
yeah, she likes to be in charge and in control. And she was great at a lot of things, but she did not love the like, let's go out and dig in the dirt thing
Okay.
at all. She likes to be very organized and clean and put together. And
So,
I was much more, yeah, yeah, I know. There's a lot of similarities, I think. I was much more, I loved being outside. I loved digging around, looking at insects, like following my father around, doing all the dirty work in the winery. I loved all that stuff. That was my happy place.
hmm.
And so that's one of my fondest memories, of course, is just kind of hanging out with my dad and doing all the things that he was doing, which was, you know, really the work of making wine, creating equipment. He was always designing equipment and trying to figure out things, problem solving, all the things that came out. I just loved all that. So those are fond memories. I mean, I was a kid that would like sit with a book forever, and just read. Uh, yeah, youngest child. I was kind of like, stay out of the fray. But yeah, I mean, it was a wonderful childhood looking
Yeah.
back. It was just magical, We were definitely in it as a family, and it wasn't about, I mean, there was absolutely no glamour to that wine business at the time. Nobody cared what we were doing. In fact, it was embarrassing to tell anybody that I went to school with what my family did. There was no way I was going to let them know we were making wine. No way. That was weird. So, you know what I mean? It was
Hmm.
just like you just tried to kind of like divide your social school life from your family, which was weird. Our family was weird. My mom raised goats. We drank goat milk our whole lives. We were hippies. We were really in it. So, yeah, it's
Well,
weird to
that's
see
cool
my kids.
now. That's super cool
Yeah,
now.
my kids went to school and they were like so cool because their families had wineries. It was just, yeah, it's completely changed. But we were a little insular family. It was great. We were really working on something together.
And your dad's work at Disneyland with all
Yeah.
this equipment, like coming up with equipment, creating equipment, fixing equipment. Man, that
Yeah.
job really came in handy.
Yeah, no, I think more than anything, he would say his title, if he had a title, was engineer.
Yeah.
He is the mechanical engineer. That's kind of guided his whole career of everything he's done is like, not only how do we, you know, get the equipment to work for this, but how do we even, what is the problem?
Mhm.
Oh, we don't have good wine here. Let's figure out how to make good wine. We don't have good beer in Portland. Let's figure out how to make good beer in Portland. These kinds of like, he moved that on to like cider, and then he did chocolate, and then he did, he just loves seeing a like a problem that needs to be solved, and let's figure it out.
Yeah.
And that's just like the engineer brain. So yeah, he
Problem,
was
solution.
instrumental. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Um,
So.
did you know at an early age this is what you wanted to do? Were you tossing around different ideas of what do I want to be when I grow
Uh,
up?
I mean, no, I didn't know I wanted to do this because, like I said, there was no reward, honestly.
Yeah.
There wasn't money. There was no money. My father was a community college teacher up until I was like 15.
Hmm.
He'd go off to work every day. And so there was no money to it. There was no glamour. Nobody was really paying attention. It was like a labor of love and some local kind of interest. Um, and so when I grew up, it wasn't like, oh, that would be rewarding, although I really enjoyed it. I know I definitely went towards the sciences and
Hmm.
thought I would go into medicine and pursued that in my college career.
Yeah, you went
But yeah,
Portland State.
well, I went all over the place.
Oh, did you?
I was one of those like, 5, 6 years going,
Nice.
I got to get out of here. I went all over. I started at University of Oregon, was doing biology, very, 2 years there. Went down to Pomona, did that for a little while. It was really hard. Then I went to community college, and then it was like Portland State. I need to get a degree. And I finally went to my advisor and I said, what? I have all this stuff. I've got all this science, but I love reading. I've been reading I love literature. And so at the end of the day, I got a Bachelor of Science in English Literature.
Wow.
I know it was like I had to like go through a whole petition, just to get out of school because I had just going on. I just didn't have a focus. And I thought, oh, I'll take that because I have a BS there. I'll go to medical school and
Hmm.
I'll carry on from there. And I worked at OHSU for a little bit and realized there was no way I was going to do it. I did not have that kind of like empathy for one thing. And I didn't have, honestly, I mean, I was like, come on, people, get out of bed.
I
I was
love
not.
this.
I wasn't good at it. And then I was also like, just the environment wasn't going to work. It
Yeah.
was, I really just love being outside. So that was when my father was very clever and he was like, yeah, why don't you come back and work this vintage? And that was 1990 vintage. And he put me in the lab and it was like, oh, okay, light bulb went off on the science part. And then it was a matter of like, okay, what do you do now? You just become, work with your father, or do you, as a woman, I was very conscious that like there were no women. There was Lynn Pinarash. That was pretty much it. And I needed to kind of like get something behind me as far as
Yeah.
like an education or an experience. And so that's when I thought I should go to Davis, maybe get a degree at Davis, but Burgundy seemed a lot more like what we were doing. So, same varietals, same kind of
Hmm.
families. And so I went off and went to school there.
I've
And
heard I've heard this story before from a different female winemaker, dad being a very cool customer. Why don't you come back and work this harvest with me? And then the light bulb went off for her and she was like, "Oh, this is really like sciency, exactly what I
yeah,
want to do."
yeah,
Um, do you think that was
thank you.
intentional, dad?
Yes,
Okay.
very intentional. Very intentional. I think he knew that this is what I would be good at.
Oh.
And but he needed to get me to realize
Mm,
that is something, and I wasn't there because it was just so much a part of our lives that it didn't occur to me that it could be a career and that I didn't, I didn't really see that it was going to be a way to support yourself,
sure.
honestly. I looked at it as like, oh, I'll do this job and then you do that on the side.
Mhm.
It's not your career. So yeah, it was very intentional. He did a good job of it.
Yeah.
It was smart.
Go dad.
So
So you're off to Burgundy then?
went off to Burgundy. That was 1991, 92. Worked and lived there. Went to school. And that was an experience because that was like early 90s. I mean, I don't even know if it's changed that much now, but it's certainly not like women were not welcome in the cellar.
Right.
So that was a real kind of like eye-opening thing to realize that I wouldn't be allowed to do certain things. I was literally told you can't do these things because you have yeast that will ruin the wine. That was like, wow,
What
okay. I've been doing this my whole life. And here they tell me. Yeah, so that was like a thing, a real thing. It was a real thing.
for real?
Yeah. Like they did not want me to, because they were doing everything pigeage, get in the vats, use your feet. There was no way they were going to let me do that. No,
Wow.
that was, and literally told me that.
Wow.
And then it was a kind of like this, harvest. You were like delegated. Why don't you go make some soup or something? It was a very much of like having to find those little windows where you could prove yourself, and then jumping in and saying, showing that you could actually do something. And so that was that was an education, outside of winemaking. But it was good, and the school was good. But it was really all about drinking wine. Honestly, it was about tasting all these amazing wines and figuring out what I loved and what I wanted to do with,
Yeah.
with our wines.
This was like you were early 20s, I'm assuming.
I mean, I was 24,
Okay.
25. I mean, I'd gone through college forever,
Right.
and yeah. So yeah, I wasn't super young, but I look back and I think, oh my God, you didn't take advantage of that like you should have. But I think I did a lot, and I met a lot of people, and I went down to Piedmont and worked at a winery down there. Um,
Wait, what do
so it
you
was good.
mean?
It was really good.
What do you mean you didn't take advantage of it as you should have?
I mean, I look back, and I think as a young person, I didn't have the knowledge of wine. Like some of the cellars I went in,
Hmm.
today I would be impressed going in those cellars, and I would just be like, oh, this is great. I go to school with this guy, and this is his family's winery. And and then I learn later, oh my God, I went to school with that guy.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah.
um, so I guess I wasn't impressed by all the kind of like the open doors that I got there.
Yeah.
And which was probably a good thing. Maybe it was a good thing because I wasn't, I was kind of just taking it all in. It
Yeah.
was fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
you strike me, and this is kind of a double part question, a two-part question. You strike me as the kind of person who doesn't take a lot of shit. And
No, I don't.
you don't. And I
No,
feel
not really. Mm-mm.
but I feel like being when you're mid 20s, especially and I was in journalism, I was in a newsroom, I took a lot of shit
Mhm.
just because I
Yeah.
didn't know. I didn't know any
Yeah.
better.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a different story these days. You being in this environment where you weren't allowed to do certain things just because of your gender, now that would not be tolerated.
Yeah, I don't know in France though. I still
Right,
don't know
right.
like
Yeah.
how are they doing in those cellars with women? I know there's more women, but at the same time, it was pretty ingrained. I mean, it wasn't even
Mhm.
like it was just there was no discussion. It wasn't even a thing. It was like, oh, you're a woman, therefore you don't do this and you can do this. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was
You,
crazy.
while you were there, though, you got a degree in viticulture and enology, right?
Hmm.
First,
Yeah.
this is what I read on the internets. First non-French woman to do so
In that
in
school.
that school,
Yeah, this is a school in Beaune, right in Burgundy,
right?
and it's kind of all the sons and daughters of the next generation,
Hmm.
basically at Burgundy. That's where they go. It's a very practical based school. So it's not like the University of Dijon because that's like Davis, right?
Still,
This
but
is
that's
like,
still,
yeah, it was cool, and it was yeah, when I contacted them and said I'd like to go there, it was very strange. They didn't understand. They'd never had like foreign people come. And we struck this deal where I would teach an English class in exchange for, I don't know, being able to go there, I guess.
mm-hmm.
Kind of it worked. Um, and it was kind of difficult for everyone because they didn't really know what to do with me. They were like, who is this person? And like, and she doesn't speak French all that well. It was like, I had to like learn the French real fast. Um, and so I think they thought I was a little bit slow, maybe because I couldn't
Oh,
speak really.
oh. Um,
But I befriended a couple of people, and it was fine. It was good. It
nice.
was just you do these things and you look back and you go, how did you do that? That was
I
crazy. That was crazy.
preach. I know. I know. I think that all the time. Also,
Yeah.
welcome to my current universe. No one knows what to do with me. I just like I walk into a room and people are like, what is this happening?
Yeah.
So I feel you. I feel you there.
Yeah.
Um, well, you come back, and this is
Mhm.
you come back like in 93. Come back home in
Came back
93.
home in 93, right before the vintage 93. Brought back a bunch of friends with me to work harvest. It was super fun vintage.
Did you have a
And my
different
father,
attitude? Did you have it? Sorry, really
oh
quickly.
yeah,
Yeah.
totally, totally, because I had seen, well, okay, because when you go back there, you see the generational change, right? And in Oregon, there was nothing, there was no generational. It was, we were the first to change. And so that was cool to kind of see that this could be a generational business and that it wasn't unusual in the world that this happens with wineries. And so I came back to it with like this, oh, I am taking on something that could go on for a long time.
Amazing.
Um, and so that was cool. And yeah, and I was at a point in, I was old enough and I was at a point where I was like, okay, this is my career and I'm going to take it on. But I still had a lot to learn and I still had, there was a lot to figure out. But my father was awesome. He was like, here you go, take it. He was done. He was pretty much ready. And he was just like, I'm moving on to my next fun thing I want to do. And super supportive and let me make all the mistakes and do
Awesome.
all the things that he'd probably done before. And yeah, it was good. It was a really good transition. And my brother and sister were already there. They had come back
Mm-hmm.
also in their own weird way.
Mm-hmm.
And we were all there again. It was like, so it was a fun time. Yeah, we're all young adults and taking over the business. It was fun.
That's kind of that's very special. Everyone sort of left and then came back right around the
Mhm.
same time with
Yeah,
probably different skill sets, different
yeah,
perspectives.
yeah. Kind of moved into our roles of like what
Yeah.
we were going to be best at. And then we all, got married, had kids, and we had all these cousins running around the property. It was really fun. It
The
was like
best.
yeah, it was. It was really good. So, yeah, those were fun times.
Do you, and I'm sure this is maybe has changed, you can tell me your philosophy, if you have one when it comes to winemaking and how that's changed since you've been doing this for a while now?
Um, yeah. I mean, it has changed for sure because I think in the beginning I was all about my father was making great wines. He had a lot of acclaim. He'd kind of put the industry on the map in a lot of the ways. Um, he'd already been proclaimed as one of the best winemakers in the world.
Mm,
And so my role was like, don't fuck it up because that's all been set in stone.
yeah.
But at the same time, how do you like put your own spin on it and figure out why, how to make it about, what you're doing as opposed to just carrying on what your father did, which is hard to do. And probably in a large way, I did that for like 30 years to make sure that I didn't mess up what he'd
Yeah.
done and to continue that kind of aim for elegance and excellence. But I had this other part that I could put my print on, which was Chardonnay, which was like failing in Oregon. And so I had an epiphany in Burgundy about Chardonnay. It was like incredible. And why can't we make that here? And I started down that path. And so I kind of made my mark with Chardonnay. I think that people often think of me as a Chardonnay maker because
Yeah.
I was one of the first to really say Oregon Chardonnay should be great. But the winemaking style has always been set kind of by where we are in the valley and our vineyards and this kind of beautiful, what I'm always looking for and striving for are these kind of layered wines that have a lot going on, but they're not over the top and they're not wimpy either. These are elegant, balanced wines. I think everyone's kind of looking for that same thing, really. It's just what terroir are you working with and what vineyards are you working with and how does that translate? So a lot of my winemaking has been dictated by my vineyards because I've been working with the same vineyards for whatever, 50 years now. We have vineyards that
Wow.
are almost 60 years old. So yeah, so when you say winemaking style, it's always, I think it's the same for every winemaker. You're looking for expression and balance and all these things that you get from your site.
Yeah. And I think
So,
that's one thing I'm trying to, because I'm not a winemaker, but I do believe that through stories and storytelling, we can educate people around the world, really. This isn't just an
mm,
alcoholic beverage in a bottle. It starts outside, it starts in the vineyard, and it starts with so many hardworking people touching the earth, touching these
yeah,
vines, touching the grapes.
yeah.
It's
It is. It's all, I mean, the more I do this, the more I realize that it's really, the winemaking is so, I don't want to make it sound not important, but it's so secondary to the grape growing. And I mean, people always say that the wine is made in the vineyard, right?
Mhm.
And it's so true, but it's so true. If you have really great fruit, it's really hard to mess it up, honestly. And so I don't know. Yeah, that's kind of like when it goes back to my title, like who am I? I feel like the vineyard is so important. And it's like that is where I want to spend my time now because the winemaking, yeah, I got that down. That's like that's
Hmm.
like the second part. But the vineyard part is, I think, where it's all at, really. And then there's this whole these people that are working so hard that never get any recognition.
Right.
And that even when you say title, I don't want to put viticulturist because that's like it's not held in as high acclaim as winemaker. Why isn't it? It should be,
Should be. Yeah.
It
No.
should be.
Do you
Yeah. But
think
it's
that perspective of, you know, what happens in the winery versus what happens in the vineyard, that perspective, have you always felt that way, or do you think that's changed as you've
no,
gotten older?
it's changed for sure. I
Yeah.
think I felt like that cocky winemaker that I could take any fruit and make great wine. And no, it's totally changed. I mean, I just feel like the vineyard is really where it's at. And if you have a good site and you farm it well, it's hard not to make good wine. So it's a different perspective for sure. And I don't know if a lot of people have been able to get to that perspective because I have this unique career where I've worked with the same sites for so long that I've got to learn them so well. And it's unusual unless you're in a family winery. So many winemakers move around from winery to winery to winery and they're learning new sites all the time. But when you have that privilege of like working with the same sites and planting them and seeing them get to 30 years old and it's amazing. It's like it so well. And yeah, and that's where the magic all happens, I think.
That's really
So
special.
it is. It's unusual and it's special. And I'm so glad that when we sold Ponzi, we didn't sell our vineyards.
Mhm.
That was like brilliant because we have these gorgeous sites, and I can just like now I'm in this position of just like cherry picking everything that I love from these sites and making my own wine. And I know it so well. So yeah, it's a super fun place to be right now to be on the other side almost.
Yeah. What have you seen change in the vineyard?
Oh wow, it's so much. I mean, God, vineyards are, I mean, we all know they and the French are so good at talking about vineyards like people. They are though. They're just so much like
Yeah.
people. And they just like to be able to watch that vineyard that we planted when I was a year old and now still make wine from it today. I walk out in that vineyard and it's just like total respect for these vines and
Yeah.
just like where they are and where they've been and what they're doing now and how they look. I mean, they're just gnarled and big um and then other sites that I planted when I was in my 20s that are now whatever 30 something.
Hmm.
And to see where that evolution has been with them from the type of wine they were making to where they are now. And they're making these just like amazing, complex, interesting wines. And I knew they started at babies where they were just like fun and cheerful. And now they're just like interesting. And
Right.
that's just really, it's so cool to watch the evolution of a vineyard and to have input into it, and to be able to guide it a little bit. So
And
yeah, the vineyard part I find is so fun. So
well, it's fascinating because
mhm.
for to some extent, no harvest is the same. No vintage is exactly the same as the year
Right,
before, the year before, the year before.
right, right, right. But when you do it long enough, you kind of get this sense of what's going to happen long
Hmm.
enough with each vineyard, what's
Right.
going to happen in that year. Okay, this vintage is like this. Well, the wines are going to be like this. You kind of it all becomes intuitive, like everything else
It's
in life.
amazing. It's y'all amaze me.
Well, I mean, but even, for you, everybody, everything as you get older becomes so much more intuitive and more
Sure.
relaxed and fun.
Sure.
So
I do think y'all, when I say y'all, winemakers have just a weird chunk of your brain where you can remember the most random dates and
yeah,
elements of harvest that the rest of us are like, huh?
I know.
2015? What?
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of cool the
It's
way you
impressive.
chart your life by the vintages and what the you can pick any year and you'll know like, oh yeah, that was like that. And there's a personality to these vintages that you remember. Yeah.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
cool.
It is
Yeah.
cool. It's and just so much respect for you know everyone who's out in the vineyard doing such hard work. Um, I wanted to tell a quick story. I've interviewed him a number of times. He started Rogue Creamery down here in Southern Oregon.
Yeah.
Blue cheese, the best blue cheese in the world.
Yeah.
And he told me this beautiful story. He's like, we have these cows out in Grants Pass, and they're great. There are cows that create the milk for all of our cheese, and while we take care of them, it all starts with the grass that they eat and the soil that we plant the grass. And I was just like, that it's like a nursery and the green grass grows all around and around. And I was like, oh man, it starts like way
Yeah.
before we ever get to like, oh, just
Right.
it's good milk. It starts
Yeah.
way before that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so funny you say that because there was this soil scientist from France that um, came over here, and his job before he got into vineyards was all about the cheese industry in France
Mm-hmm.
and looking at specifically that grass soil, starting from the very beginning, like what are they eating to make the milk good?
Yep.
It all makes sense when you think of it that way. And vineyards are so transparent in that way. Like yeah, it's just like it's right there in the wine.
Mm-hmm.
You see it, whether that vineyard was cared for or, has everything it needs to be the best it can. It's pretty cool. It's the whole thing is just amazing. And it can be applied to so many things,
Mm-hmm.
but it's often ignored. So
Yeah. And we
yeah.
can nerd out on it
I
all
can.
day.
Yeah.
I know. I know you can. I can see it and I love it.
I love it so much.
I love that passion you have. And I know you have seen the wine industry change
Yeah.
so much.
Did I say that like that? Yeah. No. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It has changed. Yeah.
And I
I
mean,
mean,
I think in some respects it's changed for the better. We're seeing more diversity within the industry. And I know we're facing challenges right now within the wine industry across the board, really. Do you think it's something that is cyclical, that it'll eventually will kind of dump out of this and it'll pick back up? Or what do you see if you
I
could
mean,
look in your crystal ball?
right. I mean, we've seen a lot of these dips in,
Yeah.
my career where it's like, wine industry tanks and then it comes back and
Mm-hmm.
whether it's, the economy, whether it, 9/11, that was a huge one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, these things happen, but there's usually something that's very clearly that we can like pinpoint it. This is why it's happening. It's going to come back. This feels different a little bit to me. It feels there is definitely economic pressure, but at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, it's a cultural shift, I think, and it's a time for us to like reevaluate, like what are we selling to people and how are we presenting it, and um, what do people want? Because I think
Mm-hmm.
wine just we got a little too pretentious and isolated people. And I think that's going to be a bit of a road back. But but I don't know, I hang out with a lot of young people now all of a sudden, because my kids are getting into things and
Right.
so I've got this like 20 to 30 age group that I seem to be spending more time with, which is really, really, really fun
I'm
and
sure.
energetic. But I'm seeing that they're interested in wine, right? They're curious about it, but they're kind of intimidated. And we have to figure out how to make it better for
Mm-hmm.
those people that want to be involved. But I don't know that it's ever going to be these high rollers anymore. I don't know. I feel like that those days are kind of gone.
Yeah.
That we have to appeal differently and we have to make wines differently that people want. Um, I think there's always going to be a space for great, great wine though, and those people that will appreciate great wine. it's just going to be a little more limited. I don't know. I feel like it's just we need to reinvent. I'm a little bit worried about how much wine we have out there and
Mm-hmm.
uh yeah.
No.
But I don't know. I think that wine has, whatever. It's been around forever and people love it and it does good in the world. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think, you know, we just have to figure out how to kind of appeal better to people.
Yes, I totally agree, which is why I've taken on this, storytelling side of it, because I feel like if we connect those who don't know about the wine industry to the stories behind the bottle, it
Yeah.
changes the way we look at it, in my
Yes.
opinion. I
Yeah.
interviewed Tim Hanai, Master of Wine Tim Hanai, several years
Yeah.
ago, and he
Uh-huh.
was talking about, all this like pretentiousness with wine and that it needs to go right in the garbage can and that
Yeah.
we need to stop looking down on people who want to put a little fruit juice in their wine or whatever, or ice or
Yeah.
whatever.
Right. Right.
If we're trying to sell wine, just do the things. Like let people do the
Yeah.
things they want with the
Yeah.
wine that they buy.
Yes, I agree. I do think that like what you're doing, the education part of like what goes into making wine is so valuable because I think it adds that wonder about it
Mm-hmm.
back. There is a reason why it got kind of pretentious because there is just so much that goes into it. And I don't know. I go between this like, yeah, just give them what they want to like, no, we need to like show them what's really great.
Yep.
Like what is special about this
Yeah.
product is all that goes into it and the history of it and everything that, is around wine. But I don't know. We just have to do it in, like you said, we do it in a way that they get there
Yeah.
on their own, so that so that people are curious. That's what I want. That's what I'd like.
Curious, and there's a different level of respect that comes with, and your sister actually helped me look at it in a different way. Don't just pop the cork and chug a glass. There has been so much time and money and
Yeah.
thought that goes into just one bottle of wine. So think about all the wine that's out there on the shelf.
Right.
I mean, when I really slow down and think about it that way, it really does change my perspective.
Yeah, right. And so I think there's like this double thing we have to do is like, yeah, make it fun and appealing, but at the same time, there is some reverence that should be there,
Mm-hmm.
at least for those wines that are made that way, because there is so much that goes into it. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm always having this kind of struggle with my kids this way. It's like they just like, it's just wine. Let's just, why do we have to talk about it so much? Just drink it.
Oh,
Yeah, but you know how much time went in it?
yeah.
Like so anyhow,
Yeah.
but it's evolving. I think it's changing. I think I think we're going in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's it. People are definitely, I guess the wine industry is like now opening their eyes to like, we
Yeah.
do need change. So
And
that's,
I do believe there's room for all of those things. There's room for, the fancy schmancy bottles that we have a 30-minute discussion on. And there's room for something that's fun and maybe a little fizzy and we pop it and we celebrate. I think there's room for all of that. I really do.
yeah. I mean, that's kind of where I am. What I'm doing right now is this kind of, I have, you know, done making the big volume wine that is going out to the world and focusing on very small amounts.
Yeah.
And I'm doing this like, because that's what I know is like how to make really good wine. And so I'm doing like some really beautiful wines and that I'm putting under my own label. But then I'm also doing this little project with my daughter that's just super fun, irreverent, crazy things.
I love it.
And
Nice segue.
yeah, I
Nice
know.
segue.
I know. Well, it was very natural. That was very like you just kind of laid it out there. So I think that's where, that's where I am right now. And I feel like it's the right thing. Like, yeah, you got to make these wines that are fun. And it's fun for me, honestly. I'm having a blast making like
Perfect.
bizarre, skin contact, weird things that I've never, I mean, I've always played around with this. I'm a big experimenter, but at the end of the day, Maria had to go sell the wines and she was like, I'm not going to sell a Mueller Thurgau Riesling skin contact shit. So you can like
Don't
blend
hold
that
back,
away.
Maria. Don't hold
Yeah.
back.
So I never got to like really do these small lot fun things, which I'm now doing. It's great. I love it.
Amazing.
And just really like leaning into the, yeah, it's just wine, have fun with it kind
Yeah.
of thing.
So this is Louisa Wines, your label.
Yeah. So
Um,
I'm doing my own label, which is Luisa. It's quite serious. Pinot Chardonnay, beautiful.
okay.
Really, really cherry picking those places of our
Okay.
vineyards that I especially love and making some very high-end wines. Then I'm doing this label with my daughter, Mia, who's a chef. Um, and she and I are collaborating on this label called Lerzi, which is
Hmm.
my Italian grandmother's last name, right? So
Oh,
this is kind of matriarch of our
oh,
family. And yeah, she was wonderful. And she was Italian. She was from Italy and she spoke very broken English and she never understood why we were making such a big deal about wine, like why my folks were so, enamored by this beverage. It was always just on the table for her.
sure.
You had it with the pasta. And so this is kind of a nod to that. Like it's just part of life, and this should be something that you don't spend the whole
Hmm.
dinner talking about. You just have it with your food, and so it's called Lerzi, and I'm doing all kinds of Italian varietals that we have planted in our vineyards. This is all, varieties that we have. Some, like I said, some strange kind of co-ferment, skin contact, fun,
Yeah.
and Mia's created these beautiful labels that are very, very young. And it's been fun. I mean, it's great. We released these wines a couple months ago by the glass at Chez Panisse within like a week and like sold out because they're small volume. They're just like fun and small volume. And they're like,
What?
yeah, it's crazy. And
Amazing.
but it's also the culmination of like, whatever, 35 years of my life working with people. And they're like, oh, cool, you're making wine. And there's some certain, they feel like it's probably going to be good because I made it. So that's nice. That's a super gratifying thing to see the reception.
There's nothing better than
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
someone you've cooked food for someone or you've made wine for someone and they taste it and they're just like, oh, blown away. You're like, oh, thanks.
Yeah.
There's nothing better.
Yeah. It's nice. It's a nice kind of, I'm not saying into my career, but it's a nice transition to something much more fun
Yeah.
and less pressure. And especially in the wine climate right now, it's just like these, you make 100 cases or something. So it's to me, it's a very small volume. These just, you don't
Yeah.
have to work too hard at it. And that's my whole thing. I keep checking myself. I'm like, are you having fun? Yes, I'm having fun.
Whose idea, this collab with your daughter?
It was hers. She definitely is like sees all these young people that really want to enjoy and learn about wine. And they're looking to her because she's from a wine family, right? And so
Hmm.
she's like, and she's in the chef world and the food world. And she just was like, what we should do is just take these varieties we have planted. We have these varieties already, and do our own thing and just, see what happens and
Go Mia.
have fun with it. She's a force. Yeah, she's.
Which we were talking about before I hit record. The little Ponzi's that are coming up now, you said are just doing some incredible things.
I mean, you just go through the list. It's like crazy what's happening with them. My daughter and son started Sosta House, which is like it's like a bed and breakfast kind of
Hmm.
inn. She spent a lot of time in New York
Hmm.
chefing and then came back here and she's super talented and she's a force. She creates an environment that is just what people want right now, just super welcoming and open to everybody and it's not fancy. It's very comfortable
Hmm.
and but lovely details, right? Um, and so she and my son started this a couple years ago, and it's just been extremely successful. And then my daughter came to my husband and I. My husband's Eric Homaker. He also has his own wine,
Hmm.
um, and said, we had the original winery. That's so when we sold Ponzi, we sold the place, but we had our original winery where my family lived.
Right.
And so we've come home there. That's where I'm making my wine now. Um, that's where Sosta House is. That's our old, my old home. Um, And so she came to us and she said, let's take the old winery and make it a collective and open the doors to a few other wineries to come in there and recreate the space to a more welcoming kind of a younger vibe. Um, so she's taken that on, which has been, again, really, really
Wow.
successful. And it's been yeah, it's just a lovely, a lot of history there. You know, the
Yeah.
old vines are right there. The old vineyard is sitting right there. It's one of the oldest in Oregon now. Um, and all this history of this building, right? And what happened there. And but recreating it in this very young kind
Mm.
of way. So that's been great. My the other cousins, Maria's kids and my brother's kids have collaborated on a non-alc sparkling grape juice, right? So they're doing this cool little grape juice project that is like from our vineyards again, really beautiful, cool little non-alc thing. Marinda Deli, I don't know if you've heard of Marinda, but it's my nephew
Mm.
opened an Italian deli in Dundee, which is just
Yes.
going crazy. He just got accepted to the James Beard Market. He's going to start his thing there. So the kids are just like going
Man,
nuts. Yeah.
that makes me feel
They're just,
lazy.
well, there's so much energy. Oh my God. They wear me out. They're just like, but also I think they have this like entrepreneurial thing that
Hmm.
that my parents passed on,
Yeah.
like try it, see if it works,
Yeah.
it's get a good idea and go with it.
I think
So
there's just some people out there in the world who see a hole. They see something missing and they're like,
yeah,
I'm going to fill it with this because this is what I want. And I'm
yeah,
sure other people want that too.
yeah, yeah. And if you approach it that way, I think it has a good, chance of succeeding because it's something that's genuine. And that's what I think
Mm.
all these projects are they're very genuine. They come out of like this passion to try something like that.
And those
Anyhow.
stick out. Those stick out. The
Yeah.
genuine projects stick out. I want to wrap up and get to the final three. Uh,
Oh, right. Ugh. Shit, I didn't think about them. Okay.
I love you so much. This has been so great for me. It's okay. We'll take our time. Best advice you've ever been given.
Oh. Um, well, I think the best advice probably came from my father, who he was just always a little bit like it's not really the best advice, but it's like whenever there was some big thing happening that I was worried about or stressed about or whatever, he would always just kind of like put his arm around me and go, Louisa, it's no big deal. It's
Ugh.
no big deal. And when you put that in your head, it's like when you're going out to make a speech, because I don't like that stuff. And so, or any of that kind of public stuff. And I still say that to myself when I go to, like, even today, it's like, it's no big deal. What's the worst that can happen is you're going to embarrass yourself. Okay, big deal.
Yeah.
No big deal.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of has helped me kind of like take on things that I'm uncomfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
it's no big deal. It's not a big deal.
I would have these really young reporters go on a live shot, completely botch it, come back to the newsroom in tears. And I'm like,
Yeah.
listen, no one died.
No one died. Yeah. I mean, it's the
It's
same thing. It's
fine.
like, you got to look at it that way. It's like,
Yeah.
nobody, and also nobody really cares.
No one cares. And I'm like, no one was even probably watching. It's
Nobody was,
fine.
that's right. So,
I love that. No, that's great advice. And I think it's in the grand scheme of things, most of the shit we worry about is not a big deal.
not big.
It's just not a big deal.
Hmm.
Okay, what's your happy place?
Well, I mean, my happy place is I had this last vintage was probably the one of the most joyful vintages I've had because it was in my old winery where I learned how to make wine with
Mm-hmm.
my father. It hasn't changed too much. I put some fresh paint on it and but it's an old building and it's you know, something he built and that we worked together in. And I think it was just so fun because I would be alone there working on the wines. I hadn't worked directly with wine for so long because at a certain point you become this head winemaker and you're just like, go do that, tell people what to do. Oh yeah, taste that. And this was so fun because it was like this muscle memory came back of like, oh, I know how to do all this stuff. And you're so in touch with the wines. You know exactly what's going on in each barrel and you're making it yourself. It was really, I mean, it just seems so simple, but at the same time, I found myself just like at points this harvest going, I am having so much fun. Like, you know, the music that I want to play is being played in this winery and nobody's here and it's just lovely. And I love that. And I know what I'm doing. I know exactly what I'm doing and what I want to do. And it was so fun. So I think my happy place is there. Obviously, it's also with my family. I mean, when I four kids are all here and we're just hanging out, I love that. My kids are so fun. They're so great, such wonderful people. And so I feel lucky whenever I can be with them. So yeah.
Well,
They're pretty simple, happy things, happy
no,
places.
that got me super choked up. So that was very, very sweet. And I love that. There are those moments where you pause and you look around and you just go, this is the best.
This is the best. I know. And it's so wonderful. I just got it. To be able to slow down and know that I'm having fun is even.
Yeah. Yeah. Take that away, listeners.
Yeah.
Slow down. Take a moment, take a beat and go, this is the best right now. If it is the best. Yeah.
Right. Right.
In all things food and drink, what do you crave? What always sounds good to you?
Oh. What always sounds good to me? Oh, I don't want to say the boringest thing in the world,
No.
but a really great Pinot does sound good to me most times.
Mm-hmm.
But I also am a big gin and tonic person.
Nice.
And like last weekend, somebody made me a gin and tonic. It tasted so freaking good.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think it depends on the time of day, right? I crave coffee. I can't do without it in the morning. My husband makes me a latte every morning that is the best coffee.
Good job, hubby.
Yeah, no kidding. And yeah, so it just depends on the day. I can't
No,
say.
I
I
feel
hate
you.
that desert island question where you're like, what would you, I don't know.
See, I'm the worst.
Then there's the whole like sparkling wine, right? Oh my gosh.
See, this question is the worst for me because I'm like, ooh, glass of bubbles. Ooh, margarita.
Right.
Ooh, gin and tonic. Yeah, yeah.
Have you ever had anybody say one thing?
Yeah.
Some people have like a thing.
There's some people who just like they live for this kind of question because they have the best answer or whatever. Yeah. But I also had a history teacher on, this was years ago, and he said he always craves a good piece of salmon, and I was like, yeah, totally, and a glass of milk, not together. Oh
wow.
So I was
Okay.
like, okay, that's weird, but you do you, homie. Food wise,
Uh,
because I know y'all are foodies. I know you
I
are.
know we are foodies, and I think my comfort food is pasta, unfortunately, but I mean, it
Not
is.
unfortunately,
Like I can do pasta.
it's so good.
It's so good. It's so good. So if I really want to like cheer myself up, I make a really good red sauce and pasta.
Yeah. I could just butter, fresh grated parm, pasta water, some pepper, just
Yes.
like mac and
Yeah.
cheese kind of. It's like so good.
It is so good. It's so comforting. So yeah, I think you go back to those things that are childhood, good
Yeah.
memories, all that stuff. So
Well,
yeah.
Luisa Ponzi, thank you so much. This was mostly painless, right?
No, it's good. I like talking about things. I just prefer not to.
Well, I just want to tell you, thank you so much for sharing your heart with me, your knowledge, the stories.
Yeah.
Interviews like this, I live for. Just casual. I had to keep checking to make sure I was recording because I just got so wrapped up
Oh,
in this conversation with you. So thank you for
good.
that.
Well, thank you for listening. I don't get all the attention anymore because I'm like out of the spotlight. So it's like nice when someone remembers that I'm like, oh, you're still doing stuff.
No, lady, I'll give you the attention for sure. Where can people learn more about Lerzi? Is that how you pronounce it? Lerzi?
You have to use your hands. Lerzi.
Lerzi.
Yeah. It's Winery Lane Collective is where you go, or you go to at Drink Lerzi, which is Lerzi.
Perfect.
And my Luisa wines will be out this spring. So
Oh, well, that's exciting.
that's exciting. Yes.
Maybe I just make a trip up to Willamette and we drink some Luisa wines together.
You definitely should come by.
Okay.
I'd love to show you around. Yeah.
Done.
it'd be great.
Done. One more time. Thank you, Luisa Ponzi. Thank you just for sharing all the stories with me today. It means a lot.
Thank you, Trish. I appreciate it. It was super fun.
You've been listening to Hungry for More, an Epicurean's Dilemma with me, Trish Close. You can watch this podcast and subscribe on my YouTube channel. Just search Hungry for More, an Epicurean's Dilemma. You can also listen and subscribe wherever you like to listen to podcasts.